Hi all! Today I'm showing you our family's Southern Tomato Tart. It's a staple here in the South in the spring and summer, and every family likes it a little different. This is how our family likes it. I have a goal, and that's to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So just 9,890 to go. So we're asking everybody, if you're enjoying our videos, please like, subscribe, and comment, because the YouTube algorithm doesn't find us unless people are watching us or commenting or subscribing. And then we can't add new viewers because nobody sees our videos. Thank you. With that said, let's start the video. Equipment and ingredients you'll need: a mandolin and 2 spatulas, a 1-cup measuring cup, measuring spoons, a cutting board and knife, a pie dish and box grater, a medium saucepan, a mixing bowl and spatula, ice water, 2 sticks of frozen butter plus 1 teaspoon, 1½ teaspoons of kosher salt, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese and a 1/2 cup of Gruyere cheese, 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 2 to 3 tomatoes, 1 red onion, 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. You will need to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. So this is just our family's recipe for pie crust. It's 2 sticks of butter, frozen, and 2 cups of flour. Now, if I was using unsalted butter, I would put salt in it, but because I was using salted butter, I didn't put any salt in. But you'd put a teaspoon of salt in for these 2 pie crusts that we'll make. And I always fork fluff the flour. That way it's aerated. I always say, think of baking as like a science experiment. You have to get all the measurements right for it to work. And now I'm just coating the butter and flour. And next I'm going to be adding a 1/4 cup of ice water at a time and mix it in and see where I'm at. And I think I've mentioned sometimes the weather's really wet outside, you won't need as much water. Sometimes it's really dry and you need more water. Today I needed a little bit more water than the 1/2 cup I normally would have put in, which is strange because it was really wet outside. I think the flour was just, I bought it like 6 months ago. That may have been the reason. And I'm just mixing it up. And I'll know when the consistency is right. And I think that's more of just the more you do it, the more you get the feel for it. My grandmother used to be able to make biscuits just by putting like a lump of lard in the flour bin and mixing it up, and then she'd pull it out, and there's your biscuits right there. She didn't leave anything behind. It was perfect every single time. And now I'm going to be putting the mixture into the plastic bag. And I think I told you this, I prefer this method because it's just the easiest to smush it into a round disc. And actually there's 2 pie crusts in here. I'm going to divide it later on. Like, you don't see this, but I divided it into 2 equally. So you could do a top and a bottom, or 2 individual pie crusts. And I refrigerate it no less than a 1/2 hour because you really need that time. But this makes 2 pie crusts. And I peeled the onion, and now I'm just going to slice it on the mandolin. I don't have the guard. I know it's incredibly dangerous. Don't do as I do. Do as I tell you. As my mother would used to say. Just be careful if you're going to use a mandolin. It's incredibly foolhardy, but I want it thin slices. And I have a medium saucepan over a low flame, and I've added a tablespoon of oil and a teaspoon of butter. Butter is really more for the flavor. And I'm adding the sliced onions, and I'm going to cook them until they caramelize. But I am going to add a half a teaspoon of salt to it because that will help sweat the onions for them to release their excess moisture. And now it's been cooking probably for a half an hour to 40 minutes. And now I'm adding a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. You don't have to add the vinegar if you're not a vinegar person. You could just do the caramelized onions that way, and that's perfectly fine. And I split, as I mentioned, the dough into 2 parts, and now I'm going to roll it out to 1/8 of an inch of thickness. And I'm constantly moving the flour because you want to make sure that it's not going to stick. And that's why I'm always moving it around. Oh, I got a tear there. So it won't stick, so I can easily pick it up and move it. Oh yeah, it's perfect. As you just saw, I used the pie plate to make sure I had enough space. And I did. I always do that because you just want to make sure you rolled it out enough. And you never want to go thinner than 1/8 of an inch because you want the pie crust to be flaky but still durable enough to hold up to your filling. And if you wanted to make this a sweet pastry for a regular pie, you could always add a tablespoon of sugar. I do that sometimes. And that will also help the browning because sugar, of course, browns. And here I'm just smushing around some extra dough around because I thought it was a little thin on one side and I want to crimp it. And I'm just cutting off the excess dough. I tuck any excess underneath, folding it underneath itself. But a tip, don't cut off so much that you don't have enough to tuck underneath because you do want to crimp it. As you're seeing I'm doing here, I'm tucking underneath. And once I've done that, I'm going to crimp it like I'm doing now. And I'm going to dock it. We're basically just taking a fork and you're poking holes in the bottom so it doesn't rise up when you cook it. But I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator for 15 minutes before I do that because I want it to get cold again because when the heat hits the butter, it's going to give you that beautiful flaky crust that we all want.
That's cheese.
And now I'm just slicing the tomatoes. And I'm using a trick that I was taught where you salt the tomatoes. And with just a teaspoon of salt, and it helps draw out the excess moisture so your tomato tart is not watery. And you do it usually about a half an hour before you start working with them. And I just take each piece, I smush it around on my hands and rub both sides with the salt and then lay it on some paper towels, lay another sheet on top, and you're not going to have a soggy tomato pie.
I'm salting them like you taught me, and I'm putting them on paper towels.
And now I'm putting the pie weights in. I'm going to put it now into the oven for 20 minutes at 400 degrees. The oven is already preheated. And after that, I pull it out, take all the pie weights out. This was a pain because I didn't have enough foil just to lift it out. I'm not baking another pie without foil. That's all I'm going to say. It was a hassle. And once I get all the pie weights out, I have to put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes. And now I'm just putting down the mustard mixture, and then I'm going to layer on the caramelized onions. Now the cheese, just a half a cup of it though, right now. Then we're going in with the tomato slices that, as you can see, they don't look very wet. They're not, because a lot of the moisture has been pulled out. They're still delicious and very tomatoey, just it's not this wet, soppy mess that you would get from fresh cut tomatoes that haven't been salted. And now I'm going in with another layer of caramelized onions. And then the last layer of cheese before I put it into the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Again, the oven is still on at 400. Pull it out. And I always chop up some parsley for just some green color so it doesn't look so beige, as my cousin would say. And this is what it looks like. It's really good. To help our channel grow, we're asking everybody, if you're enjoying our videos, please like, subscribe, and comment, because the YouTube algorithm doesn't send us to other people unless people are doing that. Thank you. I post videos every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays on a variety of topics: gardening, skincare, interior design, baking, and cooking. Thank you all for watching. We're very grateful for your time. We know you have a lot of channels to choose from, and we want to thank all of our new subscribers for signing on and everybody who's watching the videos. Thank you. Have a blessed day.